Grüß, willkommen in einem Video, or welcome to yet another exciting video, in this case part 46 of my figure gaming hobby series. In this case I'll be looking at how I created my initial 6mm ancient force mix, then changed my mind twice and came up with a final solution. From bitter experience I've learned that when you decide to try out a new scale and period of figure gaming, you need to do your research and have a reason or objective that you wish to reach. If you wish to select 6mm ancients and you lack any other scaled ancient figures, then the reason for this can be anything you wish, from like I like the look, the feel, and I saw someone with a 6mm ancients army and I want one as well. It doesn't really matter. On the other hand, that decision is not as simple if you currently have an Ancients army using a different scale. You need to pinpoint the specific reason why you're going to try a new scale while you currently have a force mix that you can actually use to have a game. One possible reason is cost. 6mm is cheaper. While I discovered that a 6mm Napoleonic base of 12 6mm figures was not much cheaper than 4 15mm figures, this does depend on the basing scheme you use. The basing system I finally selected for Ancients did result in lower cost. Another reason is that it's easier to paint. Once again, this was not the case for my Napoleonics, as I was painting 12 6mm figures for each 4 15mm figures. But for my selected Ancients basing, I have to admit it was much easier to paint. Another reason is that I want a smaller playing area, or I want a larger battlefield that can be depicted on my existing playing area. This is a very good reason for selecting 6mm, although it does depend on the basing once again. If you base your 6mm figures on 15mm bases, then you don't get the benefit. This is especially the case if you decide to base your 6mm figures on 25mm bases, that's 6cm wide. However, all my 6mm are on smaller bases, which means I can depict a larger playing area. This was the main reason I went down the 6mm path for Napoleonics and also for Ancients. In conclusion, do your research when identifying an objective or reason that you wish to adopt 6mm Ancients. If you do not have a reason for your move into 6mm Ancients, then it's unlikely you'll get much benefit from your new 6mm Ancients army. I have dabbled in 6mm Ancients figures 3 times. The first was not successful and I sold my figures. The bases in that case were too small, as I were using 2cm wide bases, and as a result it was just simply too difficult to have a game. For my second attempt at 6mm Ancients, I based them on a 3cm square base, as you can see here, which is at what I finally adopted for my Napoleonics 6mm figures. For my 6mm Napoleonic figures, the 3cm square basing system worked well, with a number of different Napoleonic rules. While I still mainly use 15mm Napoleonic figures, the 6mm figures still come out for an occasional game, based on what I wish to achieve. The 6mm Napoleonic figures on a 3cm square base allows me to avoid the use of movement trade, as each base is a self-contained unit, representing anything from a brigade to a division. This allows me to refight large battles on the same playing area size that I would normally use for my 15mm figures. I also do like the mass effect of 6mm figures. Unfortunately for Ancients, I had a major issue with the rules. I did find one set of rules which suits square elements, but that was a while ago and I could not find any opponents to play me using those rules, so that did not work. The most common sets of rules out there being played were DBA, DBM and DBMM. Actually, even WRG Napoleonics going back into the 70s. And they all use a similar basing system. As I already have a 15mm Ancient armies which uses the standard 4cm wide bases which suits those rules, I saw no initial need to duplicate this with my 6mm Ancients. I needed another reason to use 6mm figures versus 15mm figures, which meant I needed a unique basing system to give me a unique game experience. or smaller bases to allow me to play on a smaller playing area. In conclusion, if I was going to put my 6mm figures on the same basis as my 15mm figures, I basically was going to waste my time. One solution was that I could try and continue my search for ancient rules which did use 3cm square bases, or at least a square base. On the other hand, I've come to the conclusion this type of basing does not really work as well with ancients as it does with Napoleonics, which could be the reason why there is not many rules which suits that basing system. In the world of Napoleonics, the different troop types are few, and most units consist of the same troop type. At the scale I was playing, it did not make sense having skirmishers in front of my columns or lines. So, the one unique unit style of game makes sense, which suits square bases. When I move over to ancient, the number of different troop types is significantly greater, and it was far more common for different troop types to work together. Skirmishers in front of hoplites was common, as was bowmen behind spearmen in the Persian army. There are plenty of single troop type units, but there are also a lot of multi-troop type units, and most ancient rules expected this. This is much more difficult to simulate if you use a square base. In conclusion, using a 3cm wide base made sense because it allowed me to have a smaller playing area. However, using square 3cm bases was not going to fly. I needed to use non-square or an oblong base similar to all the other rules, but I wanted to still maintain the advantage of having a smaller playing area, thus the base size would still remain 3cm. As a result, I've decided to base my ancients on a 3cm wide basis, but the depth for each element varies from 1cm to 1.5cm, 2cm, or even 3cm in some rare cases. This was going back to the old WRG 15mm basing, which was common back in the 70s and 80s. The rules I mainly use these days is a hexless figure game version of SPI pre-stag board game rules, or P17CW rules, which stands for pre-17th century warfare. This does use the concept of multi-element units, normally 3 foot or 2 mounted per unit, but requires the elements to be an oblong, not a square. By basing it using this oblong methodology, it also allows me to use the same figures with rules such as DBA, DBM, DBMM, or even ADLG, or even if I wanted to really go back into ancient times, the WRG 7th or 6th edition. One critical advantage with this basing system while using P17CW rules is the size of the playing area. P17CW rules involve the pre-battle manoeuvring, and as a result you need a lot of real estate. 6mm figures allows me to achieve this. As with my 15mm forces, I typically need a playing area of at least 4 by 6 feet, if not larger. With 6mm I can get away with a 3 by 4 foot playing area, which allows me to remain seated for most of the game, which at my age is a big plus. As I've mentioned earlier, this is critical for players considering a new scale in Ancients when they already have a Ancients force mix in a different scale. If a player already has a 15mm or 25mm Ancients army and wishes to move to another scale, such as 6mm, there better be a good reason. The playing area size is my primary reason, which makes it worthwhile for me to go down the path of 6mm Ancient figures. My evil plan is to get a new Kingdom, Egyptian and Hittite army, as I've always liked chariots. As I use the DBMM army list for P17CW rules, the army I purchase can also be used with DBMM, DBM and DBA, which is another important point. When purchasing an army, you need to ensure it can be used as many different sets of rules as possible, as the biggest issue is finding opponents, and you may find an opponent, but they may not wish to use a particular set of rules. You need to be able to provide a wide range of rules to maximise your chance of having a game with that opponent. I must admit, in my case, I have a ready supply of new players keen on trying new rules, which is why I use the P17CW rules. Those rules are very simple and can be quickly picked up by any player after 10 minutes of overview and a single game turn. This is certainly not the case with DBMM or my previous favourite rules, DBM, which is why I don't normally present those rules to new players as their introduction to figure gaming. I need to use something really simple and easy so that new players can quickly get into a game and start making decisions in terms of moving formations left, right, or whatever. Let's now drill down into the basing system I've adopted. Strangely enough, it's based on the old WRG Napoleonics or WRG 6th edition ancient rules, which is a real blast from the past. What I found very odd was how I thought 3 centimetre wide bases were so small when I re-looked at that size. Yet back in the 1980s, all my ancients and Napoleonics were based in this manner. The mind can certainly play tricks on you. The basic size of the infantry element is 3 cm wide by 1 cm deep. My current figures are Heroic and Ross, so I normally place 5 close order troops on a single base. My new figures will be Bacchus, which I assume come in strips of 4, so I expect my basing will end up being 4 per base, exactly the same as a WRG 6th edition Ancients. For open order troops such as Persolae, I place 2 per base. While it's possible to place 3 per base for troops such as Auxilia, I'll stay with 4 for base for that troop type. For cavalry and knights, I base 3 per base. Now in this case, the base is 1.5 centimetres deep instead of 1 centimetre. I may consider placing 4 per close order mounted, such as for cataphract troops, but I don't possess any at the present moment, so I can't show you an example. For light horse, 2 figures per pace is my choice. For artillery, I would retain the 1.5 centimetre deep base. For elements and chariots, I probably would end up using a 2 centimetre deep base. If I can fit them on a 1.5 centimetre deep base, I would do so. 3 centimetre deep bases may also work if the figure tends to be quite deep. It all really depends on the rules. This section only applies to P17 CW rules, but I would use movement trays which would allow me to put bases in which are 3 cm square. For deeper bases or deeper elements, I may need to use some 4 cm deep movement trays, but this would be rather minimal. The reason for this is the unit composition. Foot units consist of up to 3 elements, which can fit neatly into a 3 cm square base. In this case, the skirmishers are allowed to mix with other troops. They would, in this case, occupy one of the 3 slots. Again, in this case, almost certainly the front slot. Cavalry elements would consist of 2 elements, as you can see here. Elephant units, which quite often worked in conjunction with skirmishers, would be allowed to occupy a single base in conjunction with a skirmish element. Thus, they can be 2 centimetres deep. On the other hand, chariots do not normally form units consisting of other troop types, but in some cases they possibly could coexist with skirmishers as well, in the same way that the elephants do, as you can see here. However, in most cases, chariots would form units of 2 elements, more likely the light chariots, which had missile capacity, or for Sith chariots would normally form units of 1 element, and this would be a troop type that would occupy a 3 centimetre base. Once again, it depends on the rules, but this system would also allow me to use the same figures for DBM and DBMM, which is a critical objective. While P17 CW rules work best with movement trays for ease of play, movement trays can also assist with other rules, making the movement of elements much simpler as a result. The movement trays I use are 4 cm square, which allows me to place a 3 cm square element in it. This could be 3 elements of 1 cm depth, this could be 2 elements of 1.5 cm depth, or it could be a 2 cm deep element with a 1 cm deep element, or finally it could even be a 3 cm square element. This shows a movement tray with 2 elements within it. I've partially removed 1 element to show you how they fit in the movement tray. This shows a side view of the same unit, with both elements partially removed. In this case, the elements are light horse, with cavalry in the rear of the image on the left. Let's move over to the infantry. This shows two elements of pike with a pistoli element in front of it. This shows the same unit from the front, with the elements partially removed from the movement tray. Here we see a side view of the same unit, showing how the elements fit in the movement tray. Next to the pike is a unit of auxilia. As you can see here, one of the unit of auxilia has the elements partially removed from the tray. This shows the same unit of auxilia from the side, with the elements partially removed. You'll probably notice from the images that not all the units are in separate trays. This shows a 4-slot tray, which I used for a different set of rules. I only used these trays for this video and game because I lack sufficient individual 3 cm square trays. I need to either purchase them or make them myself. If you do not wish to purchase movement trays, you can make them yourself. All you need is a sheet of 3 cm MDF from a hardware store and 3 mm square balsa wood strips. Cut out 4 cm square bases, or alternatively you can purchase the 4 cm square bases, whatever is easier or cheaper for you. Then cut the 3 mm square balsa strips into 2 4 cm lengths for the sides and 2 3.4 cm lengths for the front and rear. Glue and paint. I normally spray paint, but once you've done this, you have your movement trays. These movement trays that you can see here I use for my Napoleonics Blucher rules. My next 6mm ancient project will be a New Kingdom Egyptian army. I normally use 200-point armies when I play P17CW rules. However, when I can deploy a larger playing area, 300 points is really the sweet spot. In this case, there are 60 figures, which using Bucker's 6mm figures should be reasonably affordable and comparatively easy to paint and base. As I'm mainly focusing on new players who do not possess any figures or few figures, I need an opposing army, and the Hittite Empire is my choice. Actually, the Hittite Empire was really the main army I wanted to field, and I'm only fielding the new Egyptians because I need an opponent to it. I can hardly wait to trundle around in my heavy Hittite chariots. In conclusion, I went for the small playing area, but many other players adopt 6mm for the mass effect, which I do admit looks nice and is a worthy objective. As long as you know where you are going, you have a chance of achieving a place you want to end up in. And so this concludes part 46 of my figure gaming hobby series of videos, in this case providing an overview of my new 6mm Ancient Force mix. Alle guten Dingen kommen zu einem Ende.